Heidi ho, Colliders. Welcome. It's the AEW Collision review right here on the Mr. Warren Hayes show. You're on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on your favorite podcast application. Yes, it's for Colliders only. That's only who we accept here. You got to be committed to one brand and not the other. See, I call them brands, not shows. They're brands. You have to define yourself via brands. Brands help develop your personality. They make you truly a whole human being. So why not identify yourself with the Collision brand? That is absolutely the normal, insane thing to do. Hope everyone is having a wonderful weekend. Peek behind the curtain. Before I recorded this, I recorded my G1 Climax review, which you should be following. You should be into it. I'm doing daily G1 reviews right here, wherever you're consuming this podcast right now. It has the G1 stuff as well, and I'm a little cranky, or at least when I was doing the G1 podcast, night 6 of the G1 kind of got me I wouldn't say in a bad mood, but cranky, and I'm wondering how much of that is going to bleed into my Collision review, because look, overall, I thought this show was okay. Like, it was fine, wasn't bad. Did I like it? I liked it enough, but I can't say here and just, yes, this is a good edition of Collision. I'm like, I don't know what to, I think so far, this might be, we're at episode 6, right? This is the 6th Collision, if I'm not mistaken. This might be one of the most underwhelming ones. But again, nothing bad, nothing terrible, nothing where it's like, that's it, I'm done, closing the book on it. And not because of lack of effort, all the stars were there. And I'm not, I'm sort of doing the bit, but actually all the stars were there. Pretty good matches, I guess I didn't feel like anything was happening. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm cranky today. This might bleed in onto my review of AEW Collision, the one that took place, if we're being very specific, on July 22nd, 2023 from Newark, New Jersey, the Prudential Center, set up for 5,905 tickets. 5,163 were distributed. This is per WrestleTix, a few minutes before I started recording, so still very fair. There's been talk, of course, in regards to these attendance figures and whatnot, and there's this idea that the Canadian tour was very bad for Collision, right? Because everyone is still thinking about the Hamilton, Ontario one. The Regina one wasn't great either. And in fact, it turns out that the Hamilton Collision drew better than the Regina one. And we're talking like by 1,200 seats here. 1,400 seats. Not just like, drew better by a couple of hundred. No, a substantial margin. The Hamilton one was the disaster one, right? You remember that was under 1,000 tickets distributed for a few days. Didn't do so bad. Regina, really not great. Overall, right now, so people were, they were saying, well, don't worry, CM Punk, once he gets back into the United States, he's going to start drawing again. And not that he's not drawing. But I think there's a lot of people who were expecting old Punkaroo to suddenly be this magic, this magic formula that was going to draw all the unwashed masses in droves to AEW Collision shows. Whereas right now, the Prudential Center one is the 4th most drawing Collision. So, and the first one back in the United States since the OG, right? Now, the original Collision will always we have to measure that one as a fluke, regardless, whether you're talking about ratings or will be talking about ratings, or even for drawing at this point, 9,280 tickets distributed for the first Collision. But look, the Toronto one, the go home show for Forbidden Door, 6,358. Then we had the Scotiabank Saddle Dome last week for the Owen finals, 5,896 plus the big 2 out of 3 falls match. I mean, there you go. And then this week, 5,163. And here are some things, though, that I want to counterbalance the analysis that I'm giving here, which seems to say, well, is Punk really that big a draw? Listen, the Scotiabank Center, it was the Forbidden Door pre-show, go-away show, excuse me. So a lot of people who were already in town just bought tickets same day. I'm pretty sure, in fact, I've observed it, I saw it, there were a lot of walk-ups that day. So I'm sure that helped out. So, you know, that helped the purchase or distribution of tickets for the Scotiabank Center, because it was next to a significant pay-per-view, which had a lot of people coming in from out of town and so on and so forth. As for the Calgary Saddle Dome one, that again was boosted by the Owen Hart tournament finals, and you know, I'd have to check, you know, more specifically, but you know, the 2 out of 3 falls match when it was announced, that probably moved a little business as well. Plus, it's within the you know, it benefited from the promotion of being a part of the festivities of the Calgary Stampede. So there's a lot of factors that did help boost numbers there as well. This one here, not a specifically noteworthy Collision going into it. Nothing big really announced. There wasn't a marquee match. You know, there wasn't a 2 out of 3 falls match. There wasn't a tournament finals. There wasn't even and it wasn't a go home show to a pay-per-view, like just the night after or whatever. So 5,163, that's not bad. You know, I find. Now, what's going to happen moving forward? Like right now, the Hartford show next week, which just got a little shot in the arm just this week on Wednesday with the FTR Adam Cole MJF match. 2,608 tickets distributed. That's not great. Then the next show after that is the Greensboro. The Greensville, sorry. It's Greensboro the next week. The Greenville, South Carolina show, 2,813. Then we get up a little bit when we get to Greensboro. It rises a little bit to 3,597. Then Lexington, Kentucky, Rupp Arena. From what I understand, not a tiny space, not a small arena either. And this is like just in August, right? We're leading into Allin here. We're leading into All In, All Out, 2,066. Like, yeah. I'm not, throwing any death knells or anything. Like, things can move around. Of course, promoters are going to promote. They can do whatever needs to be done to get people sitting in that building. But as it stands right now, like, these numbers are not blowing me away. I'm not sitting here and telling you, yeah, absolutely, CM Punk is driving this. And the people who are, saying, oh, well, the Canadian shows drew bad. They'll never go back to Canada. They'll never go back to Regina. What we're doing in the United States, where a lot of quote unquote observers or pundits were telling people like myself, don't worry, you'll see when we hit back the trail in the United States, ticket sales are going to go up. It's just the Canadian thing is a fluke. It doesn't look like a fluke so far, but I am going to revisit this topic in a couple of weeks. Let's see how things go. Let's put this as a milestone. Let's plant our flag here and see what happens. We'll come back in a couple of weeks and maybe we'll all just be blown away and we'll be doing 5,000 and the median tickets will be 5,000 sold. That could be too. It's not terrible business. And I'm not trying to say that this is a disaster for AEW. It's just everything that I've been told up until this point regarding CM Punk and his drawing power was CM Punk is a draw and the Canadian shows are a fluke. Wait till we come back to the United States. Well, we're back in the United States. The Prudential Center drew less than 2 of the top drawing Canadian shows. And everything else is on the level of the other Canadian shows. So we're in the same boat here. It's not anything out of the ordinary. It's not unusual right now. I'm not seeing the CM Punk effect. Let's put it that way. Still to keep an eye on. We'll get back to this. Like I promise, we'll talk about this again because it's interesting. It's interesting to see how these metrics are going to evolve. One that will be very interesting to see how it changes is of course, the United Center one that they're doing on September 2nd as we get ready for All Out. Right now, the capacity is at 9,117, and there's a third of that's been distributed. Of course, it's Chicago, right? But I will be interested to see the difference between that show and the first the first Collision from the United Center back in June. I'll be interested to see how how those two play off each other. And are we going back too soon? Are people going to go? This should be a show I promise I'm going to stop talking about this so that we can actually get to the show. Here's my final point. This should be a show that will benefit from having a pay-per-view the next day because people will be in town, maybe not purchasing their tickets ahead of time. There should be some good walk-in business or same week or day of or the day before. There should be more people than it should benefit the September 2nd Collision to be the lead-in to the pay-per-view the next day, the big pay-per-view. All Out's a big pay-per-view. It should. Not unlike the Collision before Forbidden Door. It benefited, unquestionably. So keep an eye on all of this, folks. But right now, we're going to talk about this show. So tell me if you haven't heard this before. Tell me if you haven't heard this setup before, for a wrestling show, to open up a wrestling show. Tell me if you haven't heard this before. Newly crowned champion comes to the ring for a championship celebration, right? Challenger or immediate rival, interchangeable, comes to the ring to pursue champion in a verbal fashion. Things get heated. A tangentially associated act comes in to chime in with their own thoughts. Then after that, a challenger / rival to said tangentially associated act comes in to add some words and challenge for an impromptu tag match that very same night. Does that sound familiar to you? Is that a recipe, a scenario that seems familiar to you? Because it does to me. Again, I don't want to ring any alarms. I don't want to sound the bell. I don't want to call 911, but here we are once again with a little more of the other guys seeping into the alternative. The other guys are doing well, doing very well, very good business. Anyway, Ricky Starks comes out to celebrate his win of the Owen last week, even has the belt. He comes out and to huge pyro. When he was in the ring, I was like, he gets a bit of pyro. I'm like, oh, look, I was like, that's cool. He's getting some proper pyro because he's a star. They want to make sure that people understand. He said, but no, this is like Ian Riccoboni said, this is $100,000 worth of pyro, and he's like, that wasn't wrong. That's a lot of pyro for Ricky Starks. Not that he doesn't deserve it. Au contraire was like, oh, this rules. Okay, we're serious about this. He says, he comes out with the title, but he also has a bag with him. And he says, what's in the bag? Well, there's nothing in the bag. I just wanted to show off my Louis Vuitton bag that I bought myself after winning the Owen last week. Okay. Some people are really into that, right? But I can't. Here's the thing. Is that everyone's interests are geeky to others or are, silly to others, right? Do you think people around the world think my interest in pro wrestling is super cool? Anyway, good for him if that made him happy. And Ricky, listen, in this promo here is definitely hanging. He's definitely hanging to the face-leaning tweener thing. Like, I cannot outright call his promo or his intentions, the way he's presenting himself, I cannot outright call it a heel. Unlike CM Punk's opening promo on Collision back in June, where it was a clear heel promo. And CM Punk isn't even going to lean into that a little more. We'll get to that. But he's, anyone who was thinking, oh, here it is, it's the Ricky Starks turn. Well, I didn't see it tonight. And I see something a little more zones of gray, shades of gray here, as one former AEW star used to tell us that they'd like to do. That was much more interesting to them. So she says he doesn't regret on how he beat CM Punk, and that drags out CM Punk, who doesn't come out to his music. He's just, Phil Brooks, I guess. He comes to the ring, basically says he's no saint. He's cheated before, just like all these people in Jersey. They've all cheated to get something, right? And that, folks, is a heel call. And he gets the hometown heat talking about the New Jersey Devils. And I mean, that's it. That's his thing. And he's a heel. And we've talked about this previously, but maybe you haven't been around or you're new to this or you don't quite remember. Allow me to refresh your memory then. CM Punk wants to work heel in AEW. He wants to work heel. This is what I've been hearing in circles, but right now Creative wants him to do the babyface thing because they're a little worried that, because they want him to be a babyface to get the crowds in, to get the people excited. And from the get-go, as they kick off this show. Okay. He tells Ricky that he can live with the L, but can Ricky live with the W in the way he won? So he leaves, right? He's like, he's one of these debate me bros, right? Who comes at you. It's like, debate me, bro, debate me. And then he drops a line, and then, he drops something, and he's like, I gotta go. And then he logs out of the Zoom call, and you're like, oh, you just wanted the last word, huh, Phil? And he turns around and he hits the bricks. But then Ricky Starks tells him, just like my bag tonight, the bag that you're carrying around, CM Punk, is just as empty. And I'm like, oh boy. And that got Phil spinning around on his heels, stomping his way back. And for the first time since Phil has been back, he has referred to himself as the real world's champion. He used those words. So we're done dancing around it. This is what we've been talking about for a couple of weeks at this point. Ever since he brought out that sack. I told you, he's going to lean into this because we're eventually going to get Max versus CM Punk. But now it's real. Now the gauntlet is thrown. Now the seed is set. And CM Punk clearly has no intention of just being, nope. I was never beaten for this belt. I don't know what this guy's carrying around. But we've been dancing around it. I've been fueling the fire. I've been telling you this is what's going to happen. And now it's happening. So here we are. This, for some reason, brings out Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. The tangent team here. Basically, I guess it's because Ricky, challenged for the TNT. Look, the point is that Christian comes out and he says, look, we're contractually obligated to be here since he wants to get out of here as soon as possible. He wants to get out of Jersey as soon as possible because there's a reason why they call this Dirty Jersey, you sweat hogs. Fantastic. I popped. It doesn't take much to make me happy. Then Christian asks CM Punk what kind of a man carries around a championship he didn't win. I laughed, of course. This is brilliant heel work. You know, the completely oblivious heel. Just diving in, you know, saying things that are extremely ironic. I love it. Then Darby Allin comes out, calls CM Punk his friend, and then challenges Christian and Ricky Starks to a tag team match. Later on tonight, Tony Khan makes it official. Oh my God. Look, if you didn't see the Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown segment in this, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe I'm a little too cranky, but this jarred my preserves. I have quibbles. Multiple quibbles with this. No, I didn't care for this at all. You know, here's what I cared about. This is what Ricky Starks getting promo time. Here, okay. Let's backtrack a little bit. At some point, I'm realizing I'm like, hey, we have got Ricky Starks, CM Punk, and Christian Cage, 3 fantastic mic workers right here. What magic is going to happen? No, what we got instead was rotating door. One guy cuts his promo after the other segment to lead to a surprise main event. And I'm like, come on. No, no. I do not, I reject this. Despite the fact that the work was good. Ricky Starks is a fantastic promo. Everything makes sense. Everything in its essence was fine. Worked. But the way it's presented and brought to you, the viewer, is the hallmark of another company, and yet we're doing it here. So be original, be the alternative, be the challenger brand, Tony, that you say you are, and find new ways of making these promo things work. If you want to start your show off with a promo, which is always a bad idea in my brain, unless there's in very, very singular circumstances that warrant it. There was nothing that was warranted here. Nothing that you couldn't have done, in the second, the third quarter hour of the show. Absolutely not. But if you absolutely have to, challenge yourself to find another way to do it. And you want to talk about, the Monday Night Raw stuff happening? We got an earlier today segment to go on top of it all. Earlier today, man, are we leaning into this or not? Andrade El Idolo arrives at the building and cameras are there to capture it as he comes in and he is accosted by security who tell him, "You're not welcome." "Why am I not welcome?" asks Andrade El Idolo. Well, he basically says, "You're not welcome." The security guard tells him, "You're not welcome because of what you did last week." Now, I went back into my head. Then I went back into my notes. And I want you all to think about it right now. What was the egregious shit that Andrade did last week? What is the thing that was so vile that he pulled off last week that he was banned from the building on this Saturday night? What was it? He came out to the ring after a match was done because the other guys, the Malachi Blacks and the Buddy Murphys and the Brody Kings and the Julia Harts, they have his mask. And he didn't get into a fight. Officials came to keep him from, and you'll remember last week, they had the tons of officials come out and I was like, why are they doing this? Why do we suddenly have, the entire referee roster out here keeping him from going in? Like there was like 4 refs keeping him from getting into the ring. I was like, why? What is that? He's not like brandishing a chainsaw. He doesn't have a pistol. What's the big deal here? Wrestlers do this fucking shit all the time. Why is this so special? You remember, I talked about that last week. And then this week, he can't make it to the ring because of what happened last week. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, he even complied last week. Management doesn't want you here. If they had said, look, if the angle had been Malachi Black made a formal complaint and they don't want you here. Like some bullshit like that. First of all, would have made sense to a degree. Second of all, would not have made sense to a degree. Would have made sense then because you're like, okay, well, they're kicking him out because the House of Black are being shitheads. But second of all, that would be completely out of character for Malachi Black to do, administrative procedures. It's so stupid. So they escort him out for basically just walking down the ramp and complying to what the referees were telling him to do. If he had started tossing referees around, then I'd be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, last week. Sure, pal. Give him a fine too. Get some of that Andrade money, get some of that Ingobernable money while you're at it, But no, this is all bullshit. This is honestly, it's stupid. Then we get Bullet Club Gold. Jay White and Juice Robinson defeating Action on Andretti and Darius Martin. This was decent enough, I guess. I guess. As most AEW television matches are, this stuff starts to ramp up once we're back from commercial break. Before that, it's just setting the stage, getting things ready. Martin hits a combo DDT slop drop on the Bullet Club guys. Juice Robinson lands some cannonballs, the left hand of God, a pendulum DDT, and Jay finishes off with a Blade Runner. Good to establish, that everything is still fine with Bullet Club. The Guns were there too, so, you saw the immensity of Bullet Club Gold there as well. It's incredible to me how well Juice and Jay have meshed, even though, I get it, even though they were Bullet Club for a very short period of time. And sure, they've wrestled each other multiple times in New Japan. That's not the question. It's incredible how well they've meshed together as a tag team. And we're seeing this a lot where you're getting, and we're getting standards here where you're taking two singles guys, putting them in a tag team, and the two singles guys are like, okay, let's be a tag team. Let's not just be two singles guys. Let's do, we saw it with TJP and Francesco Akira in New Japan. We saw it with Ace Austin and Chris Bay in Impact. And it turned out to be two fantastic tag teams, top tier, exciting. I will watch this match because they are involved type of tag teams. And now we're doing the same with Juice and Jay. Now, the caveat that I want to bring here is that I don't want I don't want Jay White to be in a tag team forever. Jay White is a star, and he should be able to live as a star. If he's paying his dues, whatever, locker room bullshit he has to do, which is ridiculous because this guy should have come in as an international superstar from the get-go. He's going to get there. He's getting there, probably despite whatever else is going on, because he's that fucking good and he's charismatic and he's excellent. But yeah, this was fine. The match was fine. It happened. It was good. It was fine. All right. Then they show some footage of Willow Nightingale winning the Owen Hart tournament last week, and then fighting Athena at Death Before Dishonor this past Friday, which, by the way, Death Before Dishonor, she lost. Of course, it was a losing effort, but an extraordinary match. For me, it was match of the night in a card that was filled with great stuff, an excellent pay-per-view. The girls went out at the main event and they just tore the house down. They really did. Everyone was floored at how great it was, and I was excited about it, and you should be excited about it. If you haven't had the chance to see it, you absolutely have to go out of your way to get it. And I'll even go as far as to say, get the late buy on the pay-per-view. I think Death Before Dishonor, despite all the criticisms, which were absolutely valid, of it not having a build, being slapped together 3 days before the show, was an excellent show. It was an excellent wrestling pay-per-view. You will not be bored and you will not regret your purchase. I even wrote about it, participated in my first review collaboration over at Voices of Wrestling. So if you want to check it out, you go to voicesofwrestling.com. You can already see my thoughts, or you can wait for the Mr. Warren Hayes show this Tuesday, because I will be reviewing the show with my voice. With my words and my voice. Miro defeated Nick Comoroto. This was a good squash here, and a little play on the squash. You couldn't squash just Nick Comoroto, right? Because Nick is a big guy. So Nick, smartly enough, attacks Miro as Miro's coming into the ring. So he gets some offense in, and then you realize, Jesus, this guy's bigger than, he's taller than Miro. Look at this brick house as well. But it's a squash nonetheless. Even though Comoroto got some offense in, Miro dispatches him with the matcha kick. Whatever. He doesn't call it that anymore because it's a WWE thing. Matcha kick was what they were calling it, right? The matcha kick, the pump kick, essentially. And the game over, which was, what did he used to call that? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But it didn't have I never really liked the name. Here, let me just get this out of my brain. I'm sure some of you right now are screaming at me. And the Acclaimed. There you go. I never really liked it. I didn't think, it doesn't sound harsh. Like, I'm not a big fan of Game Over either, but Acclaimed sounds more like a pat on the back than I just broke your neck kind of thing. Good little squash, but now we really have to now it's time for Miro to chew on something. Because look, audiences love the guy. They are into Miro. Like, they are absolutely into him. They love him. So lean into it. Let's do something. Come on, brothers. It's time now. Can't be squashing dudes for the next 2 months now. And we get a video package to drive home the fact that FTR are the greatest tag team of all time. This will become a theme. Then we have the AEW Trios title match where the House of Black successfully retained their championship against the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. I enjoyed this to a limit because it was very short, but I think it was very effective. Nothing extraordinary, but again, very effective. From the moment that Max Caster is coming out doing his rap, and he then proceeds to swallow Buddy Murphy's knee wholesale before the bell. And I mean wholesale. And the whole of this match is essentially a heat segment on Caster by the House of Black. There's a hot tag to Billy Gunn, who tries to dispatch of the House of Black boys, but he eats a black mass and he's done. Quick, dominant win, and as it should be. I think this is fine. And clearly this all ties into the angle that they're pushing forward here. But look, I got no problems here. Buddy Murphy did a lot of the heavy lifting, but I have no problems with this match. The young guys were taken out, and it was left to the older, aging veteran. He wasn't up to snuff, to the point that after the match, he's sitting down and he starts removing his boots and leaves them in the ring, which is, of course, a sign, a symbol that he is retiring. Now, look, first and foremost, don't get too sad, everyone, because Cody Rhodes did the same thing, and yet he's still around. That's fine. And, I think there's enough in this. So that's the story they were telling here, right? And this is what Billy Gunn realizes that, look, I let down these two kids. I'm old. I'm the old guy. I can't keep up. It's basically the Hiroshi Tanahashi's story. But a little crossover here for those of you who are watching the G1 or the daily G1 stuff. But basically, this is this is what it comes off as. He wasn't able to keep up. He's too old. He let these two young kids down. I'm out of here. Now, it could be an impulsive decision, but you'd think that he'd be thinking about this for a while, right? I don't think it's that impulsive. I think he's, he talked about getting gold. He's talked about retiring. He's talked about being on his final run, so, it's time for him to move back, to step away. And I don't think it's that impulsive. It could be one that is ill-advised, but maybe, you saw the Acclaimed guys who clearly were surprised, and they're not going to let this go. So we're going to lean into this a little more. I think there might still be some juice to, will Billy Gunn have some title gold before the end of his career? I mean, look here. What are we? 2023. What are we? It's as if I'm like I'm slowly losing my mind. What year is this again? We're in 2023. Billy Gunn started wrestling like in the late 80s in the NWA, right? If I'm not mistaken, 88, 89, something to that effect. I mean, this guy's career has spanned over 40 years, and he has wrestled pretty much everywhere. If he did want to call it in, he leaves with his head high. You know what I mean? FTR come to the ring to join Tony Schiavone. They start by listing off a series of teams that they have unfinished business with. And this list of teams includes the Young Bucks. Oh, gee. Looks like, all of this hatred, all this elite hatred, may be just a fabrication. Might be just something that was put together, concocted by certain people in AEW to push a message. But now that everything is clear and everyone has what they want, now we're all buddies again. Now we can start mentioning each other by name again. I don't know. Look, this is what I'm going to leave it as here. Oh, but for real, we've heard that that the only person that really still has heat with the Bucks is CM Punk. FTR and the Bucks apparently are cool. Everyone is cool. So if they're setting the groundwork for this, if they're, because they talked about Aussie Open too, so that's fine. But, I keep saying, and I keep maintaining this, and I think this is the truth. Right now, in AEW, there is not a bigger, hotter match that they could put on for their fan base than CMFTR versus the Elite. There's nothing that comes even close. Now, if they want to do FTR and the Bucks, that's another super hot match. And of course, I would be into that. Anyone with a pulse would be into that. The discourse, unbearable. But as a wrestling fan, this is what you want. Two teams who have legit gripes with each other. You want people sometimes to not always just be pals and patting each other on the back and saying, hey, good job, guys. Respect, shake hands. I know sometimes you want a little, sometimes you want a little spit in that grit. You know what I mean? Anyway, they're here to hype up their title match against MJF and Adam Cole. Next week they ask Cole, who's not there, but via the magic of television, if he really trusts Max, because they know firsthand that he can't be trusted. Remember the Pinnacle? They say he was a dirtbag, essentially. Dax goes on some personal history or whatever, he takes us down memory lane to some story that, we can't verify. And Cole and MJF are treating Cole and MJF are treating this title stuff as a joke, right? And he's not wrong, because they're doing all these comedy spots, but for him, he says, I'm too injured. I got myself too injured too many times over the past decade to not take this seriously, right? And then there's double clothesline chants in the audience that start. And they're like, yes, I know you guys love them. I love the double clothesline too. That's fine. But next week, no dance break, just an ass kicking. Look, sounds like shit I've said. I mean, I can't disagree with him. I talked about, look, if you want my full thoughts on MJF and Adam Cole, and if and when they should split up, and how significant all of this is, and what I like and what I don't like, this past Thursday's Dynamite review has all of that, but I'm not rehashing it here. We're going to keep moving on, going to Taya Valkyrie defeating Skye Blue. This was okay, and probably Taya's best AEW match so far. But I mean, it's not like we didn't get the work rate classic here. I think it's just like her least bad one. I don't know. Look, this is kind of a glorified enhancement match between us all. She mocks Skye Blue. She lands a Blue Thunder Bomb, double knees in the corner. Skye Blue tries to string offense together, but Taya clotheslines her down. She hits the sliding German and the stomp for the win. So we're still pushing Taya, huh? We're still doing this. After the match, I mean, look, we get Athena versus Willow Nightingale in a legitimate classic, right? In a memorable one, and I'm like, oh yeah, Taya Valkyrie, let's push her. She cuts the most bare bones, basic promo for a match with Britt. I don't know if it's just because she was winded. I don't know if it's because she was nervous. I don't know if she couldn't remember her outline, her lines, whatever you want to call it. But this was promo school 101 stuff. Let's keep moving. We get matches being announced for next week. We're getting Andrade versus Buddy Murphy in a ladder match, and the mask is going to be suspended over the ladder. I couldn't care less, and I could get the hell out of here with another ladder match. Now, again, I'm saying this, but it will probably rule because Buddy Murphy and Andrade have chemistry. They're buds, and they're very good at this kind of shit, but that's what it is. It's shit. I hate ladder matches. I can't stand them anymore. The mask is online. What is in it for the House of Black? Like, what's the impetus? Just to keep the mask away from him another couple of weeks? And Vikingo is going to be on Collision next week in a trios match with Andrade, with Action Andretti and Darius Martin. But El Hijo del Vikingo is on Collision next week. I guess that. Does he hate the Elite now? And finally, the main event, Christian Cage and Ricky Starks defeated. I told you I was cranky. I'm feeling a little sassy too. Christian Cage and Ricky Starks defeated CM Punk and Darby Allin in the main event. I thought this was pretty decent. And it played off the idea quite a bit of Ricky Starks not wanting to fight CM Punk. See, this is why I'm telling you right now. See, I'm not saying that he's not going to be a heel. I'm saying right now he's tweening babyface, because the promo he cut was a babyface one, but he's tweening, he doesn't want to fight the guy and he's avoiding him. So that's a heel move, but tweening. And people, look, we got to mention once again, mixed reactions for CM Punk this week. And CM Punk leans into it. This makes him happy. He's not, it's not like Cody who got, who let that get to him. Who let the people turning on him get to him. CM Punk revels in this, and he wants to be a heel. So let him do it. The faces get a long control segment here. Pescado by CM Punk, followed by a coffin drop to the floor by Darby Allin. Scorpio Skye is in a Scorpio Skye box. Darby Allin later lands the flipping stunner and the code red, and then a dive on Starks, tries to do one on Christian Cage, but Luchasaurus just steps in between and takes the bullet, but it's more like the bullet bounces off Luchasaurus and kills Darby Allin because he hit a brick wall, brother. The heels are in control for a while then until the big hot tag from CM Punk, flying crossbody and a diving elbow on Christian Cage. Ricky Starks avoids the GTS, and then he and Punk trade strikes. Avalanche slop drop by Ricky Starks would pop me out of my seat. That was my favorite spot of the match. Punk hits a GTS on Christian on the floor. Darby Allin goes up top in the ring. The ref is distracted because of the GTS stuff. So Darby Allin gets crotched on the top rope by Luchasaurus. And then Ricky Starks gets the pin using the bottom rope again. So, he's dastardly. He'll take the shortcuts. Does that make him a heel? Conventional wisdom would say yes, but I'm telling you, we're not quite there yet. So that was Collision. Again, a show that was all right. Was, not mad. Not sitting here saying it was boring, not saying it was bad. It was enough to unnerve me. Again, maybe I'm just in a mood today. Probably, but also maybe not. But, not the greatest, not the worst. One of the more, episode 6 will not be a memorable episode of AEW Collision. How about that? And I am going to leave this episode, the 6th episode of the AEW Collision review, which I hope will be more memorable and which I hope will compel you to subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or to add me in your podcast rotation on your favorite podcast application. That would be dope as hell as well. And likes and reviews and ratings, all that stuff helps out a great deal. I will be back on the 25th. Not only for the G1 daily recap, because there's going to be the first Kurikan show of the G1 tour this week, but also for the Mr. Warren Hayes show, live recording, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. If not, I hope to see you all very soon. Until next time.